Today I'm going to share 10 tips I've learned about using the Guardian 4 CGM, plus a bonus tip at the end. And if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below, or if you've used this CGM yourself, please share your experience. Tip number 1, watch the official video and maybe have a loved one help you, at least the first time. Medtronic has several different videos about how to insert the sensor on the back of your arm, which is their recommended location. And if you do have somebody to help you out, that really does make it easier, although they do have a video about how to do it all on your own as well. So you can do it by yourself. If you have small hands like I do, it might be a little bit challenging. Just so if you do have somebody that you can involve, that's great. A lot of times family wants to help you out with diabetes stuff because they're also concerned and they want to see you do well with your diabetes. So if there is somebody that can help you, don't hesitate to ask them for help, at least in the beginning when the first few times that you're doing this. There's definitely a learning curve here, but you'll get good at it after you do it several times. I'm sure you'll get good at it. So number 2, calibrate. Tip number 2 is calibrate at least once. This CGM actually does not require calibrations at all, which is like amazing because it means you don't have to do much. However, a calibration will really help it be more accurate, and I like to at least calibrate the very first day so I can see how accurate is it, and also it'll get it more accurate by calibration. And if it's off like 40 points, like almost 40 points as shown here, I'd actually recommend that you calibrate twice. Calibrate one time maybe before eating, and then maybe like before breakfast or something, and then calibrate again maybe before lunch. You want to calibrate when your blood sugar is unlikely to be changing really fast. So before eating is usually a good time to calibrate. And calibrate, that word, it just means to check your blood sugar with a blood glucose meter and then put that number into your pump to tell the pump, this is what my blood glucose meter says it is. And you can manually put in the blood glucose number into your pump, so you're not tied into using any particular glucose meter, which is great because ideally you want a glucose meter that has really cheap strips, right? You don't want to have to pay a lot of money for those blood glucose strips, or maybe you already have a meter that you want to keep using. But if you do have a meter that is compatible, you can also send that number wirelessly to the insulin pump as well. So that option is there. Number 3, stay hydrated. If you ever get an issue with your sensor where it says sensor updating, a good tip is to drink some water, because probably in my experience, about half of the time when I get like a sensor updating thing, it's because I'm dehydrated. Oddly enough, of course, I don't want to drink too much water when I'm going to go on a long car trip or something. I don't want to have to use the bathroom. But if you don't drink enough water, then that's a good possibility that you'll get dehydrated, and then your sensor will have trouble reading your glucose value. So drinking lots of water, and also if you have high blood sugar, drinking water actually will help reduce your blood sugar. It'll help it because your kidneys, if you have enough water, your kidneys will take the sugar that's in your blood and try to expel it. So drinking water when you have high blood sugar is also a very helpful thing to do. Tip number 4, consider your sleeping position before you install the sensor. So the back of the arm is where they recommend putting it. I also put the sensor on my outer thigh, which they don't say to do that, but for me it works out fine. But one thing I've noticed is I'm a side sleeper. So if I put it on the side I'm sleeping on, in some places, if I lay it directly on the sensor, it will compress it enough that it will cause a false low, which is called a compression low, which is super annoying because then it'll beep and alarm at me at night and wake me up. So to avoid that issue, if you are a side sleeper, and especially if you run into this issue, try putting the sensor on the other side of your body so that you're not sleeping on top of it. And that just avoids the issue altogether here. Tip number 5 is marinate the sensor. So this is a thing I learned from the Facebook Medtronic support group. And it's something a lot of people recommend to avoid the wonky sensor issue on the first day. Because on the first day, sometimes it's wonky and the sensor doesn't work as well, is not as accurate on the first day. And my understanding is this has something to do with the sensor and how it's reacting to your body fluids and such. So the recommendation from that Facebook group is that you marinate the sensor. So you put the sensor under your skin, the sensor you're going to use, a new sensor, you put it under your skin, insert it, but you don't start using it. So you do this perhaps maybe the night before, and then you go to bed, and then in the morning you switch over to the new sensor, and that sensor has already been under the skin for about 8 hours or so, and that gives it enough time to get more stable, and that can get you better numbers and less issues on the first day of using the sensor. Tip number 6, you can request a free replacement sensor online. And this is great. You go to diabetes.shop and log into your Medtronic MiniMed account, and there's a form to request a replacement, and they're usually very fast at getting your replacement. So if your sensor doesn't last a full 7 days, you can just fill out the online form and they'll send you a new one, which is such a great, it's great customer service here. Tip number 7, use alternate tapes and adhesives so it doesn't fall off. This is a kind of a known issue that the oval tape that comes with the CGM, that for some people it doesn't stick very well and it can fall off, and that can cause a sensor to fall off of you before the 7 days is up. So you can add some extra adhesives on top of the CGM or under, there's an assortment of different options. And when you replace, if you do request a replacement sensor, recently Medtronic has been offering a free sample adhesive kit, which is what is that picture there, that you can try out all sorts of different adhesives. I will also put a link in the description to some tape that I like to use that is hypoallergenic, that works great for me and really makes it stay on the full 7 days. Tip number 8, always have a AAA battery on hand. So the insulin pump itself uses a AA battery. But the transmitter part has to be recharged every week or so. And when you recharge the transmitter, the transmitter recharger, which is pictured here, it uses a AAA battery. So when you're packing all your supplies to go on vacation somewhere or just in your purse, pack a AA battery so you have a backup battery for the insulin pump itself, and then pack a AAA battery so that you have a way to recharge the transmitter, because the transmitter charger on that AAA battery, maybe a handful of recharges and then you're going to have to replace it. Tip number 9, replace the transmitter before it dies. So the CGM sensor connects to the transmitter and then you recharge the transmitter every week. However, the transmitter is only guaranteed for a year. And I put off replacing the transmitter because it is relatively expensive. Anyway, without the transmitter working, then the CGM doesn't work, and then your insulin pump can't automatically adjust your insulin levels, and it makes it for managing your glucose level a lot more challenging. So I wrote a blog post about this called "My Transmitter Died and I'm Blue." This was actually when I was using the previous insulin pump model, the 670G, which had the same transmitter. Anyway, it's nice that the transmitter, it's nice that the sensor can be recharged. It's nice that the transmitter can be recharged, but it doesn't last forever. Tip number 10 is you can turn the sensor off. Now, I have only done this like once or twice because I don't have too many problems in general with this system, fortunately. But one time in the middle of the night, the sensor was saying, "Oh, low blood sugar." And I checked my blood sugar. No, it's not low. And it keeps beeping at me and bothering me. So I needed to get some sleep. So I turned the sensor off. It was the insulin pump was still giving me insulin on manual mode. It was fine. I went to bed, and in the morning I turned the sensor back on, and then it all worked just fine. So it just needed some time to, that marination time. It needed some time for the sensor to sit in my body fluids, and then it was fine after a little while. So if it's ever that you've got a sensor that's just waking you up because it says you have low blood sugar and you don't, you do have the option to turn it off. I would definitely encourage you to check your blood sugar, frequently, and make sure that the amount of insulin being delivered if you're in manual mode, that the amount of insulin delivered is the right amount. So work that out with your healthcare provider. But yes, you do have the freedom to turn off the sensor. Okay, and one bonus tip. Those were the 10 ones I had planned for, and then ta-da, I thought of something else. I like electric blankets. And I mean, they keep me really warm and stuff. However, they don't really work well with this insulin pump system. There's two problems. Well, one is if the blanket is on top of your insulin pump, your pump's going to get quite warm, and that's not good for the insulin that's in your pump. But then the second thing is it seems like the electricity in the blanket interferes with the wireless transmission of the blood glucose number from your transmitter to your insulin pump. And a lot of times I've experienced that what'll happen if I have an electric blanket on me is the pump will not be able to get my sensor reading. So the solution probably is to avoid electric blankets, or maybe you can figure out how to put electric blanket over your legs and still have have it away from where your sensor and your pump are. I really hope those tips were helpful. Check out my website, Insulin Pump Life, for a lot more diabetes technology information. And I'm also writing about mental health and food. And I would love to hear from you. Please ask your questions below in the comments or check out my other videos. And talk to you again soon.